RTA Season 28 is upon us, and that means we have a new set of support monsters to talk about, so let's rank them. For the uninitiated, support monsters are a rotating list of free monsters that anybody can use. They come fully kitted out, so that means full skill ups, fully runed, and they've got artifacts equipped. Something that should be noted though is that the runes are not grinded, so just bear that in mind. Support monsters are really good for the opening ranks of RTA. So if you're new to the game, haven't done a lot of summoning, and you don't have a lot to work with, but you're anxious to get into PvP, you should take a look at some of these monsters because they can help you out. So with that in mind, I'm gonna be evaluating them based on lower ranks of RTA. Cool? Cool. There are 12 support monsters to talk about. Before we get into the rankings, let's talk about the stats. Not the stats. I need to come up with a different name for this. Not like their stats, but like the stats. You'll see what I'm talking about. Amongst the 12, there are 6 strip options, 3 speed leads, 2 counter picks, 5 units built on damage, 2 healers, and 4 crowd control / follow-up units. Some of these you could argue that there are more in each category, but for the purposes of today's video, this is what I'm calling them. Let's rank them. Sitting at number 12, it's Bellus, the Fire Druid. Sometimes a set of blade runes can be a cry for help, and this is one of those instances. And 42 of his additional 56 speed is coming from a single rune, by the way. He's very slow. It's gonna be very fortunate if he takes a turn, but he can be good follow-up if you happen to control the enemy's attack bar a little bit, push him back so that way there's room for him to breathe. But if not, well, shoot, dude. That attack bar is gonna be moving like molasses. Next on the list, it's Moore, who's runed on Despair Blade, Speed, Crit Damage, Attack, which is an absolutely psychotic build for Moore. The low speed is gonna keep him from reaching higher levels on this list. He's definitely still usable, and he also offers a 24% speed lead, so I can only hate on him so much. He also has increased accuracy on skill 1 in the artifacts. That's the wrong skill.
I mean, you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong? Am I wrong?
But he does have increased damage on fire, increased crit damage, and just a smidge of additional damage in the artifacts. So, again, usable, but he's number 11. Number 10, Chiu, runed on Despair and Focus, which leads to a much higher accuracy of 84%. Usable, a little on the slow side, but I can only complain so much considering we have 2 different 24 speed leads on the table here. Number 9, Meang, the Water Sky Dancer. I absolutely love that they put her on crit damage for this build because thanks to a recent balance change, her skill 2 now auto crits. So that means that she can strip and attack bar boost for your team. Something that you're gonna wanna be aware of though is that like some of the other strippers we've covered so far, she's on the slower side. So this tells me that you may wanna bring some strip options that you've summoned on the side if you plan on using support monsters. Number 8 is Bolk, who's built on Speed, HP on Shield Will Revenge. This is actually a really nice build, but he also has reduced incoming damage in the artifact, so he's gonna linger for a little while. But since very few of the support monsters available even apply buffs, you're gonna have to bring Bolk with something of your own creation. So if you fused a Riley, he might be a good pairing for that. But he's also a great counter pick if you see a Riley on the other side. Entirely usable, I love the revenge option. Number 7 is Ren, the Fire Shadowcaster. And he is actually really well runed. The only thing that's keeping him from reaching higher numbers on the list is that he's too dang fast. He's faster than every stripper available in the supports. So he's great to punish people who aren't on will. So if you see monsters that aren't traditionally runed on that, then you can bring him. Otherwise though, you're gonna have to find some other way to facilitate that very, very long third skill of his. Number 6, Carbine. It's Douglas with a gun. Bring him to punish heavy water comps and you'll do just fine. But if you're depending on him to take a turn outside of getting glanced on, then it's gonna be a little bit of a rough ride. It also gets a little sus when you see that he's got a 78% crit rate, but hey, you know what? Again, water comps. Punish the water comps. Number 5, Charlotte. Again, she's faster than most of the strippers. Charlotte is one of those monsters that gets a little bit better every time I read her skills. So oftentimes if you bring her with an AoE strip option that reduces attack bar, like Chiu, for instance, or more, or censor that, Michael, that's a spoiler, then that means you can get the opportunity to use her big third skill to reduce attack bar and boost your own. She's great. If you haven't seen it yet, we also have a Monster Families ranked episode on the Occult Girls. That's the end of that thought. Let's move on. Next, it's Omdu. He's a little on the slow side, especially for a monster that has strip on his passive, but he has turn cycling built in on his passive, so if you're gonna rune a monster to be slower, it should be someone that has natural attack bar gain. He's also gonna act as a constant thorn in the side of your opponent because he's constantly removing buffs, pushing attack bar back, and thus netting your team more turns. So happy to see him built pretty well here. Okay, top 3, Sonia. the Wind Battle Angel. Actually suspiciously good for a support monster. You can get some really clutch little snipes right out the gate with her. She's got 95 crit rate straight out of the box, and she's got artifacts that increase the crit damage she does on her own turn. So honestly, surprisingly well runed, thus putting her at number 3. She's also decently fast for the lower ranks of RTA, which means that she'll be sticking around longer than your average damage dealer. Number 2, Diana, the Wind Unicorn. She has additionals in the artifacts. Thank God. She also has increased accuracy on skill 2, so she'll actually be more likely to strip. She is built on speed HP, so she's not going to be doing a ton of damage in the early game, but as the game goes on longer, that damage is going to stack higher and higher as attack goes up. She is also a little on the slow side. Typically, I like my Dianas built to be at least 80 speed or more, but again, if you're going to rune a unit to be slower, you want it to be the one that's passively gaining turns. Finally, number 1, the last speed lead on the list, Clara. She is definitely the best strip option of the bunch, considering that she has plus 153 speed, making it so she is just ever so slightly slower than Ren. Do you rank any of these monsters differently than I did? Let me know in a comment down below and tell me about your experience using the supports this season. All right, y'all. See you later.